During this year's San Diego's Comic-Con, Marvel rolled out multiple projects for the next couple of years. But the real star of the show that took some fans by surprise was the reveal of the new Avengers Doomsday film released in May 2026, which replaced the Kang Dynasty film. But the reveal of the infamous Dr. Doom was Robert Downey Jr. playing the villain, going from Marvel's biggest character that put them on the map film-wise to becoming one of Marvel's biggest and dopest villains is going to be one for the ages. After the Deadpool and Wolverine movie lifting Marvel off the ground, RDJ is going to be their savior, and we're here to talk about it. Caleb, after seeing the Doctor Doom reveal, how excited are you to see this Avengers film? And do you think RDJ will carry Marvel on his back once again as he did earlier before when Marvel began to bloom?
I am pretty excited for this Avengers movie. I would like to say I do think this is a desperate attempt by Marvel to gain fans. Before this, and really when the Kang stuff was going on, the Avengers movie really didn't have any emotion like that. Nobody was really excited to see Avengers 4, Secret Wars, or Avengers 5. Bringing back to a great actor like Robert Downey Jr. and what he's done for the franchise, I do think, it was nostalgia bait. I think that video has like over 200 million views on Instagram, which is like a top 10 view video on Instagram already. So that's crazy. So you can definitely tell the fan base and, comic book fans, they're definitely impressed and definitely looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to it as well. I think I'll be a little bit more interested in seeing how deep and complicated Dr. Doom will be. Robert Downey Jr., he tweeted that he does like playing those characters, so I feel like it'll be interesting. I liked the role he had in Oppenheimer when he played
Louis Strauss.
Oh yeah. When he played Louis Strauss, yeah. Like I feel like he did a really compelling job of getting into the persona of the character and being very envious and showing I thought the scene at the end of that movie was really, really telling when he just rambled, basically just told his closest client everything. I thought that was very, very telling on the depths that Robert Downey Jr. can still play as an actor. With all these superhero movies, you're definitely not really playing as much of an actor. Like I think Tony Stark is a bit more like Robert Downey Jr. than Robert Downey Jr.'s acting. Like, he's Tony Stark, in my opinion. I think the same thing with Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds. I think Ryan Reynolds, the reason why he's having so much success playing Deadpool is that he's kind of playing the aspect of himself. So he really doesn't have to act that much. With that being said, I'm definitely excited by this. Now, I think this might carry, the MCU, honestly. This was kind of the big push because I thought Wolverine and Deadpool was a really good film. I liked the trailer to Captain America, Brave New World. I like, the trailer of that. I like the news that we heard about Blade. So I've been liking the direction the MCU has been taking. And I did like the joke when they had at the end of the Deadpool movie when they was talking about how the downfall of the MCU has definitely gone since Endgame ended. So, the entire Phase 4 I think is terrible. I don't even like No Way Home. I think the only thing I do like from Phase 4, I thought Shang-Chi was pretty solid. It's a solid film, nothing more. And I thought No Way Home was overrated. I thought it was just a solid film. Loki, I liked Loki season 1 and 2. Loki was definitely the best thing to come out of that phase, in my opinion. I feel like this is going to put, MCU back on better trajectory because I feel like throughout Phase 4, they were a bit aimless. Usually with the first 3 phases, they had solo film, and then the team up. Team up was the Avengers movie. It would be like the 6th movie. That's what they had in the first 2 phases. And then the 3rd phase was like twice as long as the first 2 phases. So the Avengers team up movies were at the end of the phase. But with Phase 4, they just made standalone films. And the problem with that was that, you're making standalone films with these characters, trying to build up these characters and the world at the end. But there was no interactions from any other characters. Like with the Iron Man movies, you had Black Widow in there. With the Thor movie, you had a Hulk in there. Hawkeye in there to add an appearance. So you was building up your characters, and then at the end of the Incredible Hulk movie, Iron Man made the post-credit scene. So they were building up their characters' interactions before they, eventually got together and culminated in that movie. So I feel like they didn't do that at all, which they didn't do that at all. Like the characters haven't even met, I don't think. are interacting with each other. So that's why I was thinking, like, where they kind of stretch themselves thin by, you know, throwing out their big guns in the first 3 phases, because you're developing new characters that people don't really know. People know Iron Man, people know Captain America, people know Hulk, Thor, Hawkeye, Black Widow. People know those people. So when you're, you know, doing different characters, the Eternals movie, which I didn't give a shit for because they didn't put any time in developing those characters. Why should I care? Why should I care about those characters? The only character I remember was the gay guy. Like it's the only guy I remember. And the villain, the little dude that was trying to be Superman. But nothing else in that movie was memorable. And I feel like Marvel has hit rock bottom. The only way to go is up, because they really didn't spend that much time developing the characters. And for you to make origin stories about superheroes, you need to develop the characters. You need to develop the protagonists. I don't care about Captain Marvel. I don't give 2 fucks about Black Widow. She literally died when the movie came out. So I don't care about her. I don't care about what's another one? Shang-Chi. I think he's okay. I think his humor is solid. I don't really care about Thor anymore. Unfortunately, I think Thor, he's kind of, they're not even using Thor right. Like in Thor 4, he wasn't even used right, and that movie was terrible. The movie was god awful. A lot of these protagonists I don't care about. So when you add interesting antagonists, like, which I think Doctor Doom is my favorite comic book villain of all time, because I think he's so interesting. So when you add somebody like him, and when he's being played by Robert Downey Jr., I feel like that would be interesting. And the Robert Downey Jr. thing, I heard some theory on social media that was like in a different multiverse, Tony Stark beat Thanos or whatever. He used too much magic instead of relying on technology, which has kind of made him the person he is. So I heard that theory, and they was like, yeah, Tony Stark just turned evil and he turned into Doctor Doom, which I do think would be funny if, you know, they rip off that motherfucker's mask and it was like Tony Stark, if they say some shit like that. I feel like that'd be funny. But I feel like this is the right direction of the MCU, even though it's kind of a money grabbing, attention seeker decision, in my opinion. So
the 2 comic book accurate things about the Doctor Doom thing is, one, Doctor Doom in like a earlier time was his dad, and that was Doctor Doom, and I guess that was like an alternate universe or something. But then I did hear another theory that the real reason that Tony Stark was killed and Doctor Strange let it happen is because, you know, seeing all those 14 billion outcomes and stuff, he saw Tony Stark would eventually, if he stayed alive, he would figure out more and more about time travel, figure out stuff about the multiverse and stuff, and then he would just try to protect it all. But then as he was protecting it all, it would like slowly just, you know, take over him, and then he'd be the biggest threat to, you know, the multiverse. I am interested to see how Robert Downey is going to play this role. I think he's going to, you know, deep dive into it, because I think he's going to have a lot of fun with this role, you know, turning from the hero to the villain. So I'll definitely be interested to use it. One thing with this Doctor Doom thing, I hope they use a MF Doom soundtrack somewhere. That'll be so tough if they use MF Doom in there somewhere. Like, whoo, they don't know how many fans they'll gain off of that for sure. But Malachi, after watching RDJ become Doctor Doom for this next Avengers film, how do you feel about Marvel? And do you think that he's going to carry and help them begin to bloom again?
I'll answer the second question first. I do think that Robert Downey Jr., who is one of my favorite actors, period, I do think that he is going to carry. I don't even think that we could have a debate about that. It's just obvious he is going to carry. Now, is he going to carry this film? Yes. Is he going to carry this dying franchise that's on his last legs? Marvel? I don't know, because unless he's going to be in multiple films, his impact would have to be felt hard enough for him to carry crossover, and one film doesn't get it done. Marvel is not built, the MCU is not built on one film. They have a collection of films that do well in the box office, that have impact. So unless he's going to be a villain that we see in multiple films, how can we say that he is going to carry the franchise if he's only going to be in one movie? I think we kind of got into talking about how Marvel, Disney got to this point, and I think that we have to say they got to this point due to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we have to be honest, they went woke. When you go woke, you go broke, because how they got to this point, making billions in the box office, wasn't by playing politics. Like CJ said, we don't care about Captain Marvel. Y'all want to know why we don't care about Captain Marvel? I'll leave that to your own interpretation. We don't care about the Eternals. Like CJ said, they didn't build them up. Shang-Chi, cool film. Did it do what they thought it was going to do? No. So now, like CJ said, they're bringing out nostalgia because they're desperate. They have nothing else to fall back on. The Deadpool Wolverine movie, I think that movie is doing crazy work. But once again, that is one thing Marvel is basically built on the Avengers, the collection of characters that they put together in those films. So to bring them back, they got to really do something immaculate, because if they weren't bringing back RDJ, Jalen, I will ask you this question. What did they have? Did they have anything to bring back if Robert Downey Jr. wasn't going to come back? Was there any type of anticipation for this film if Robert Downey Jr. was not going to be a part of it? It's not a rhetorical question. I'll let you answer it.
I don't think people really care much for the Kang Dynasty film, because everybody's actually been looking forward to Doctor Doom. So he was going to be in Secret Wars regardless, even though, I would have liked Jonathan Majors to keep his role because he played Kang good. I don't think there's nothing wrong with the fact that, they scrapped that. And now Doctor Doom is going to star in his own film with the Avengers. So I think a lot of people were looking forward to Doctor Doom. I think he's just like the more popular character. His story, you could honestly make the whole movie about that, his story, and then he just has ties to almost every character in Marvel. When this movie comes out and then you got Secret Wars, there's just a lot you can do with it. Now, where they go from here with all the other characters, that's a different question. Hopefully,
and that's the problem. And that's honestly the problem. You can't build. If you guys have ever watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they kind of showed this where Leonardo DiCaprio's character, he always played the villain, and they basically said that you can't build a company off of a villain. You can't do it. Even if you're the greatest villain ever, you can't build off of that. So my thing is, RDJ coming back in the villain role, you can't build off of that. You may be able to build off of it for 1 to 2 movies, but those protagonists, they have to be this key selling point. And we don't have any character development for these guys. We don't care about them. So who are they going to bring? Who are they going to bring in these films that are going to make us gravitate to the protagonist?
I feel like this decision by the MCU was definitely thought of, with the Jonathan Majors situations going on behind the corners. This was kind of the MCU's only option, maybe main option, to reel back in the fans, because they had the Jonathan Majors idea of him being Kang, and he was Kang in Ant-Man Quantumanium, which is a terrible movie. I would stand on that forever. He was Kang in there, and they had plans of him being Kang in Avengers. With that situation going down, they kind of had to go to Doom. I think Doom was going to be the only villain to kind of keep the mantle up, because Doctor Doom, everybody recognizes him. He's Marvel's most popular villain. You want to go to him, and what better way to go to him if you're going to bring back your most famous actor who put you on the map, and you're going to just put him in that role. So the more I'm thinking about it, it was a clever move by Marvel. It was very, very desperate, in my opinion. And those are just my thoughts on that situation. Marvel, they really can do much else. Now, I would have liked that they put maybe a different person in the role, like a more psychological act. Not saying that Robert Downey Jr. can't go into those depths, but I think he's done enough for this franchise, in my opinion. I think he's the icon. If you think of when you think of the MCU, you think of Robert Downey Jr., then you think of Chris Evans, all of those guys after. He is the person you think of. He is the image. For them to go to him immediately, I was a bit, conflicted with it. But I mean, I guess it's one off now. I'm not really upset or anything about it. So
I think that's a fantastic point, because I thought the whole point after Endgame was the fact that it's the end of an era, and you don't want to be solely dependent on those guys. It's just kind of like in any situation, like we think about sports. Sports, you have a team that wins you a lot of championships. You want to have a future. You don't want to have to solely depend on those guys, because a lot of different factors could come into play. Whether it's they get tired of those roles, people get tired of those roles, they age out, they want to do different things, or they start having more demands, they start having a little bit more say, and you don't want to have your soul tie be to a group of guys who the forward progression is smaller than the rear view. I think they just kind of dropped the ball. They failed. They took a bad approach. They took the Disney route. And that's my problem with Disney in general, man. When the times change, they want to change along with the times instead of being innovative. When you do that as a company, you lose what got you there. What got you there wasn't playing politics. It wasn't falling along with woke culture. It was being innovative. It was being creative. It was making it about the characters. It was making it about the story, not about the time that we're living in. With Disney going that route, I think that hurt them. So the fact that they're relying on nostalgia, it's not good from a what does the future look like point of view. You immediately going back to RDJ, yeah, fans are going to come, but they're going to be coming for that. And that's not what you want as a company. You don't want people to come just because of one person. You want them to come because they love the story. They love Marvel. The fact that they're coming for one person, that's not how you build. That's not a good foundation. If you just want to be honest, the foundation of Disney is shot. It's shattered. It's depleted. Can we just be honest? Look how they've destroyed Star Wars. It's dead. Relying on actors, that's not how you build. Because an actor can only do what the script entails. Are we going to continue to get the writing that we've been getting from these past films? The writing has not been good. Story development has not been good. We can make an argument that CGI never really was great, but it hasn't gotten better. So there are so many factors that come into play with the film that the fact that people are getting excited because one man is coming back into a different role is not a good outlook. All of this excitement, anticipation, I don't think the film is going to flop because Robert Downey Jr. had that much faith in him. But the fact that that's what our thought process is a problem. It's an ongoing problem. And I don't see it getting solved anytime soon.